Welcome to today's episode number 6 on my song Trying. I want to give you a detailed insight into the song and its production. I hope you're going to enjoy it, so let's get right to it. I wrote Trying back in Los Angeles 2019 and carried around this idea for quite some time. Then I first released it with my Hope EP in 2021. The story is dead on about me trying to find my personal way in the overwhelming world of LA. This trip to LA in 2019 was special in a lot of ways. It really was the first time I've been striving for my personal goals. Until then, I have mainly been a sideman musician. I started my solo career with the release of my Honesty record in 2017. And ever since I released Honesty, I kept on trying to achieve bigger goals with my music, trying to reach as many people as possible, trying to get people to come to my shows, trying to strive after something more meaningful and sustainable. Literally, I want to make my dreams come true. So Trying is a dialogue with my inner self and my doubters, who somewhat believe in me, but are not yet to see my full potential, because it might seem too abstract to them. I tell them how encouraged I am to give this dream all I got. Because in the end, I don't want to have any regrets of missing out on something that I've always dreamed of. Trying is also my personal manifesto of why I'm doing all of this. I do want to change the world. I want my actions, my music, my ideas to have impact. I do want to help people in need. But for sure, I want to buy some golden rings for my wife too. To me, Trying is a personal sequel to Honesty. I wrote this song for myself because it really helps me to stay true to myself and always reminds me of my big why, and that I won't ever need to regret because I always tried as hard as I can. So here we are in Logic. This is the arrangement, and it might not seem like it, but it's actually a little more complex than it might appear on the first sight. I know that I started with a programmed drum beat, which I don't have in this arrangement anymore, but my buddy Felix actually just played the very same groove. So I want to loop this chorus section here. And I did this with some drum samples. So a fun story, I had only one guitar and a bass with me in LA. Songwriting wasn't as easy with only one guitar and bass, but it was possible. So I just produced this beat in the DAW and I added layers of guitars. So check it out. I added this guitar on top. Doubled the whole thing with the second voice. And it's very sloppy, but I just loved how it sounded. So I added more guitars. And so all of a sudden it got this gospel kind of vibe. So I added more guitars. A little counter melody here. Alright, so that was the basic layout that I created while sitting in my hotel room in LA and thinking about songs. And I was writing in my diary. I was just describing how overwhelmed I was with everything that was going on in the city. And I always had the feeling that I'm missing out on something whenever I'm not going out to a concert or to meet people or to a networking event. So you get the idea. I felt so overwhelmed and slithered into a huge depression phase that lasted for about 2 weeks, but that's just a side fact. So after that, I added bass to it. This was the point when I came up with the harmony realm that this song would live in, because after I added bass to the chorus section, I came up with a bass line for the verse, and this became like the only element in the verse, really, besides the vocals and drums. So check it out. First chorus. 4, 6, or 5, 4, B3, 2, 1. Yeah. So a little blues influenced here. I love that pivot chord going to the 6th. And let's take a look into the verse section. So this is what I wrote my verse to. And what I often do if I only have bass and drums, looking for a vocal melody, I just try to make it as live as possible. So I try to find something spot on, try to improvise on the spot while playing bass. Because usually I find some spots where I can easily put in the vocals without clashing with the bass line that I created. And this is always very nice to not have both elements overlap or fight for the spotlight in an arrangement. So I came up with this vocal melody.
I've been missing sleep since I went away, but the mountain high or steep couldn't make me stay. So many times we speak, but they find a way. But this will be over now.
So I just want to tell how motivated I am. I won't let the days go by. I leave nothing untried. I really love the lyrics. Okay, after I laid out my verse melody, I thought it would be really nice to just double this guitar melody and leave the harmonies to the guitar in order to have a very powerful main hook line.
Got a pocket full of dreams, as crazy as it seems. Wanna buy you golden rings, I don't waste my time 'cause I'm trying. Got a pocket full of.
And this might seem like a pretty unusual thing to do, to jump from a very low register into like head voice register, but somehow it felt so right, and I just love stuff like that. You won't find a lot of people do that, so that's always something very cool and something very unique, I guess. So I doubled the whole thing with 2 more voices.
Got a pocket full of dreams, as crazy as it seems. Wanna buy you golden rings, I don't waste my time 'cause I'm trying. Got a pocket full of dreams, as crazy as it seems. Wanna buy you golden rings.
Add an octave above, some harmonies. Then, of course, for the mixing stage, I invited my friends Jenny Conrad and Jeremy to do some backings as well. And I was playing around with some key ideas, but in the end, I decided to come up with a choir section to kind of glue together this whole thing. So I came up with this choir section here. Let's hear in solo for a sec. So this is all me. And then I added some more backing vocals with Jeremy, Jenny, and Conrad. So sounded like this.
Got a pocket full of dreams, as crazy as it seems. Wanna buy you golden rings, I don't waste my time 'cause I'm trying.
So very gospel-y.
Got a pocket full of dreams, as crazy as it seems. Wanna buy you golden rings, I don't waste my time 'cause I'm trying. I'm trying.
I love this line and it's so much fun. I know it might seem pretty dense, but why not from time to time be dense in an arrangement? I think that's very cool. And as long as you kind of hear any separation between the parts that is logical to me or to you as a listener, why not do so? So that's basically it. I kept the arrangement pretty much the same in the second verse, added a little harmonies here and there, and introduced a key Wurlitzer in this case. Check it out. Just to give it a little more organic feel. Here's the choir section. So I always try to make the second verse special to some degree. That's why I brought in this part here. If you're never gonna try, won't let the days go by. Leave nothing untried, no. And I love the harmonization of this part, so it just fit in perfectly. And then second chorus, I didn't really add much. I did add this guitar right here for a little more soundscape. And I only introduced this in the second chorus because it was a little too busy from the first chorus, because this can get a little ringy in your ears, and it's a small line between annoying and pleasing in this frequency range especially. And since we have so many guitars already, I was kind of careful with that and kept it very much in the background of this arrangement, so it just lifts it off. Without and with. Just another soundscape. Okay, I knew that I wanted to break the whole thing down a little bit, so I changed the melody. This is kind of like the middle 8 part, and I knew that I was going to feature some instrument. And since we already had so many guitars in there, I thought it would be really nice to just break down the gospel guitar harmonization part and exchange it for a more melodic kind of solo part. So that's how I came up with that, and I tried to keep the vocal melody very simple so the whole thing could breathe a little in this section of the song. Let's hit it with the transition. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Second voice. And third voice. And I like the harmonization at the end with the fourths. That sounds really nice. But of course, something was missing. The breakdown was a little too drastic and too much of a contrast. So I thought of a piano ostinato and I recorded it. Check it out. So this way, we were focused on these guitars all the time. And all of a sudden, we give all this energy in this frequency range, we give it to the piano here. And we open up some space for the guitars to do something else. And of course, this is very dreamy, very pad kind of sounding, but at the same time it gives you some rhythmic information, kind of like the same thing I did with the guitars before. Okay, so all together, one more time, second half. Okay, so this is the peak of the arrangement. I changed the harmony in this very last part, and I figured with very dense arrangements like this one, it's very hard to still be able to draw some highlights within the arrangement, but you can always do that with a drastic contrast in harmony change. So this is exactly what I did, and I gave the piano a little more power than I did within this ostinato part, and I supported the new bass notes with a low piano part, like just left hand octaves, and this is always very strong. Okay, here's the transition. It's the piano part in solo. So I just tried to support this new harmony with the low octaves and a more busy part in the right hand. And that's it for the instrumentation. All I did on top of that was ask my friend Rainer to play some organ on top, because I already had this kind of gospel vibe, and I introduced the organ in the second verse along with the Wurlitzer. And as always, the organ glues together all the harmonic information in this song, and again Rainer did a fantastic job on that. Very tasty organ playing, and glued together all the elements at the very end. Check it out.
Only day and night, if you're never gonna try, won't let the days go by. Leave nothing untried, no, no. I only gotta keep on. The dreams, as crazy as it seems, wanna buy you golden rings.
Without organ? With organ? Ah, it's so drastic. No organ? With organ? That's always something very, very great if you introduce an instrument, bring in so much energy to an arrangement, and I just love that. Thank you so much, Rainer, for this wonderful organ. So that's about it in this arrangement. Let's just listen to the end real quick. I reintroduce the first verse and break it down all the way. Mountain high or steep couldn't make me stay. So many times we speak, but the final feels like a reprise to the second verse. As long as I just keep on trying. And that's it. Alright, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I did. If you did, please subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow me on social media if you haven't already. Thank you so much for your support. It's much appreciated. And until next time, Ben out.